Hey guys, it's Kat and I'm back today for my April favorites and fails. I'm actually very happy. The lighting is decent today. As winter starts creeping around the corner, it is harder and harder to find decent daylight, so hooray! Anyway, I'm going to talk about the products that I really liked and the products that I really didn't like in April, and also give some updates on some things that I've spoken about on my channel that I sort of want to reiterate my thoughts or update you or recap, whatever it might be. So we've got a bunch of stuff here. All right, I'm going to start with eyeshadows, and the last video that I put up should have been an eyeshadow review, and in that I explained that there's a pile of eyeshadow palettes that I'm slowly trying to like review and work through, and I sort of feel like it's getting to the point where there's not enough like filming days in a week. There's not enough, I don't have enough eyes to apply eyeshadow to get through and review all these, but hopefully in May I'm going to do an eyeshadow review a week because I am struggling. One thing that made me struggle is my 1 month one palette. That should be up soon as well. It is of the Gemini palette from Clionadh Cosmetics. I love this palette, and using it, I think I used it maybe 14 or 15 looks. It just highlighted how much I love these colors. I don't think the formula of this is amazing, but I really enjoyed this palette, so that sort of took up most of my month. When I did have time to play around, I did the review of SUVA Beauty, the Rose Period palette, and this is very different. It was a nice break from the greens and the sort of mustardy, yellowy sort of nudes, and this created beautiful looks. I was really impressed with the looks I created from this. Once again, it's not my favorite formula. The mattes were a little bit powdery. This one didn't have much pigment, and the shimmers were a little bit sort of waxy to apply, but once you get them on the eyes, every look I created with this was really beautiful, so I did enjoy that as well. And then one thing that I had a lot of fun playing with at the start of the month, and I'm wearing it on my eyes today, is my Clionadh eyeshadows. I've also got some JD Glow pressed multi-chromes in here, so they released 5 and I've got 3 of them here. So this whole palette now is indie single eyeshadows. Majority of them are Clionadh, and then I've got the JD Glow ones. I'm wearing the Clionadh ones on my eyes today, and I really like the formula. This is not an eyeshadow palette that I would reach for on a daily basis because it is predominantly greens and purples and metallics and quite frosty shades, but when I do use them, I really like the look. I did do a video using this, and I created like a rainbow eye, an accidental rainbow eye, and you can see how they apply. The mattes are pretty powdery. I think the yellow is the most powdery out of them. I used this purple today, this matte pink. They worked fine. The purple is super pigmented. You can see it on my outer corner. It barely took any effort to build up a pastel matte purple shade on my eye, which is crazy because usually they're the weakest eyeshadow formula or the weakest pigmentation. But man, the pigmentation with this is crazy good. So it's beautiful. The quality of these are beautiful. Like I said, I think the yellow is the sort of most powdery and has most kick up, but if you like color, these are really beautiful. Look at this. It's crazy. Look how bold that is. Look at that. Fuck, it's crazy. So I'm wearing that on my eyes, and then the shimmer that I'm wearing all over the lid is this one here. So I really like the Clionadh formula. They take ages to ship, but if you wanted some really punchy pigmented shades, I think it's worth looking at. These multi-chromes from JD Glow are beautiful as well. You won't be able to see the duochrome, or the multi-chrome, sorry, in this lighting, but trust me, this one, in my view right now, that is like a gold. This one, in my view, is a purple, and this one is like a sort of like a lime green. So they definitely have a beautiful multi-chrome. So I'm loving this palette. I just, I don't reach for it every day, but when I do reach for it, I'm obsessed with it. It's beautiful. I love the quality. So these do have a few flaws, like they're quite delicate and whatnot, but I talk about that a little bit more in that review, and you can see them in action, but the pigmentation just wows me. And I really like this eye look. I paired it with a red Inglot liner, and I think even though it's all color, I think it's quite a flattering look. I might zoom in. So hopefully you can see the purple and how vibrant that purple is, and that took no effort to build up. I blended it out a little bit with pink, and then I put that shimmer in the inner corner and all over the lid. It's just a very, very simple but effective look. All right, the next things that impressed me, and these are brushes, which are a little bit random, but I wanted to mention it because I recently cleaned my brushes. I've got like a tea towel on my dining table with brushes all over it, and another one in the filming room with brushes all over it. But the brushes I didn't actually want to wash yet because I can't not have you in my life, are these two here. So I actually was sent these, I don't know if it was a couple of months ago now, but they're from Esum, and I was sent them from Muse Beauty Pro, which is an online store. It ships internationally. They stock Esum. They stock the Esum mixing medium, which is sort of like Inglot Duraline, a little bit different, works in a different way. Esum mixing medium you can use with SUVA cake liners, which is fantastic. They also stock things like Viseart, so it's an interesting store if you want those kind of brands. But these brushes I love. The only problem with them is that they do shed a little bit, but I think that's because I haven't washed them enough to like stop the shedding, if you know what I mean. Like some brushes will shed and then they stop shedding after you've got those sort of loose hairs out, and I feel like that's the case with this because the more I use them, the less they shed. But these are the Esum. There's the X51 and the X52. Now these are perfect. I've been using this one with my Benefit Hoola bronzer because I'm panning that at the moment. This works perfectly in the box. And one criticism that I have for Hoola bronzer, I love the color, I love the look of it, but with some brushes it can apply patchy. This applies it flawlessly. It just blends it beautifully. I just love it. You can put it on your face. It's beautiful. I love it. These are animal hair brushes. Just be aware of that. And then the X52 I love using for blush, and I love using for highlighter as well. So I have these out with me like whenever I do my makeup because I just feel like I'm having a good base day whenever I use these. And if they can make such a big difference to my look, I don't want to wash you yet. You're staying with me. So I really, really dig these. I think they're really well like cut, well designed brushes. One blush that I have been really enjoying as well, this is in my project pan. I use it with this little brush. I'm wearing it today, is my MAC. This is the Melba blush. It's a matte blush, and it's a beautiful peach. I put this in my project pan, not necessarily to use it up, but just to get more use out of it. And I really love this sort of peachy look. I have been going, you know, colors and playing with things, and even with this sort of soft purpley look, this peach blush is gorgeous. It's just such a beautiful, it's really nicely pigmented, but it blends on the skin really well. So you can pick up a little bit if you want, blend it on, or you can even put a little bit more just, you know, wherever you want it. I put a little bit up here. It is beautiful. So if you want a nice peach blush that's not too orange, it does have still a little bit of pink to it, and you want a matte, this is really, really beautiful. I'm wearing it with MAC Soft and Gentle. It's just a beautiful combination. I find it very, very flattering and a great formula. So it's my project pan, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it. All right, I don't know if I mentioned these in my last favorites. I know I mentioned them in a video saying that I'm trying more of them. I think it was in my last favorites. The 3 Concept Eyes matte lipsticks. So I do have a few of them now. The packaging does correspond with the color, and I do like the formula, but the one that I am obsessed with, if you can tell, I pulled out the orange. It's the one I'm wearing today. This is in the shade Hit Me Up number 220, and I'm obsessed with it. It's probably my most used lipstick for the month. It is the most perfect burnt orange, but not like too red, too brown. It's definitely orange. The formula is great. I do think that these matte formulas are a little bit, if you've got dry patches, they can cling to dry patches, and different colors seem to have almost a different formula. I think this one performs the best on me, and I like the color the most. I think the lighter ones feel a little bit more chalky matte, like dry matte, if you know what I mean, but they're still really interesting, sort of peachy tone nude. I like these a lot, but the one that I can't help put down is this shade that I'm wearing. I love it. I love it. And I get these from Yes Style if you were wondering where I get these in Australia. All right, next makeup favorite is just a mini, but this is the Caution Extreme Lash Mascara from Hourglass. I love this. I don't usually have good lashes, traditionally good lashes. I have quite spiky lashes that do these ones, and they are quite sparse. So they can be quite long, but they're quite sparse. So I never have that sort of fluttery effect. It's always like they just look like they're pokey bits doing random things. So that's why I tend to wear half lashes when I'm filming. I'm wearing half lashes now because I'm going to be filming beauty news soon. But if it wasn't for that, I would be confident just using this. So what I tend to do is just curl my lashes a little bit, apply this. It's a great mascara. It gives you volume, it gives you like definition, gives you length. I think there's a little bit of a, when I first started using this, I think it was a little bit too wet for maybe a week. And I was like, yeah, this is all right, but I don't think it's amazing. But then as you sort of use it, it just gets better and better. So this is a great mascara. I'm gonna have to buy the full size. I also wanted to follow up and say I freaking love my Hourglass Vanish Seamless Finish Liquid Foundation. I think I mentioned this is my favorites last month, and I have been reaching for it as like my daily foundation when I'm not using my Project Pan stuff. So I'm using a Lancome stick foundation as my Project Pan, slightly lighter coverage than I like for filming. So I tend to use that just on a daily basis. That color also leans really pink on me, so it looks a bit funny, so I don't like it on camera. This is my filming foundation. I adore it. It is phenomenal. I'm actually not wearing this today because I'm trying to use up another one, but I'll talk about that very soon. But this is my go-to for a decent coverage with really sort of good oil control and longevity. It's not the best when it comes to oil control and longevity, but it's definitely enough for my daily routine. I can get 12 hours without an issue. I really like this foundation on my oily T-zone skin. Oh, and I do still use one pump and I buff it in with a brush. I think it's the best way to use it. One brush that I really did enjoy using it with, hang on, I'll grab it. I just cleaned it, so I'll show it to you. All right, this paw print one, which is by BANILA, I think it's called. This is from the Yes Style advent calendar, but you can buy it individually from Yes Style as well. This is fab. This just hugs the skin because it's got that sort of curved in, and it really buffs in that foundation flawlessly. So this is a combo that I really dig. So yeah, I've been loving that. So last month I mentioned for skincare that I really loved this Glyco Skin Brilliance Exfoliating Liquid. I'm still loving this. I still use this most nights, maybe every other night if I don't use it most nights. And this it's alcohol free. It's a toner with salicylic and glycolic acids in it. So it's a chemical exfoliant. It also like helps prevent breakouts, or yeah, get rid of breakouts. So I've been using this. You just put on like a cotton pad. I've been using that at night. I love it. But I did also want to mention that in the last month I have been almost exclusively using my Glyco products. So the reason I'm doing that is I've never actually stepped back and used like an almost full routine from one brand. And because I really like Glyco, and because we've worked with Darren a few times, and throughout the last year he might send us new things, or when we catch up to work together he might be like, what do you want to try from the range? So I've almost got a full routine, and I think mid-March I ended up using up around the same time a cleanser, a moisturizer, and a serum. So I thought I would incorporate Glyco products and use them sort of all together. I just realized this is upside down. Oh well. But I might be doing a video on what I noticed before and after using like almost an exclusive routine from one brand for like 8 weeks or more. So I might do a video on that in a couple of months' time. But out of that whole range, the things that I love besides this, because I love, these are my top 3. So if I had to keep replacing things from Glyco, it would be the Skin Brilliance Exfoliating Liquid. It would also be the Age Repair. This is the Retinol Booster. Oh my God, I love you. This is a retinol oil. So I'm just going to show you a little bit because I don't want to waste it, but it is in an airless pump, and it's an oil that has retinol in it. So it's really gentle on the skin, but you get the effects of retinol, but not the sort of drying sort of negative side effects of it. I just find this so luxurious and beautiful to wear at night. And then during the day, I am obsessed with this moisturizer. It's the Cellular Defense Day Cream SPF 15. It's got a bit of an interesting scent to it. I like the scent. It almost smells like raw ingredients and I would say cucumber. I love it. The SPF 15 I have heard is only labeled SPF 15 because to get it labeled higher in Australia, it costs a lot of money and it has a lot of testing to verify it. So it actually has higher SPF than that. It just legally, they haven't been able to put it on the label yet, but I also don't want to waste this. This is like a day cream. It's got a slight tint, but it doesn't actually create like a color on your face. It's more just to neutralize. But this moisturizer is, I love the scent of it. It just makes me happy, but it's nice and thick and luxurious, but it sinks into the skin really well, sits nicely under makeup. I really, really enjoy it. So these are going to be products that I probably keep in my routine forever. And this day moisturizer, if it's just a like overcast day or I'm not leaving the house much, I use this as my sunscreen as well. If I'm going out and I'm going to be in the sun, I'll put sunscreen over the top, but those I have been loving and they're such a joy to apply every day. So those are my skincare items that I really, really love. I'm going to talk about some items that I want to give updates on, like what I feel about them. The first one is the Supersponge. So I mentioned this in a Bounce Beauty Blender foundation review. Beauty Blender Bounce Foundation review, that's better. And this is a new product. Now, I think I should have been a little bit clearer with what this is because there was a couple of people in the comments. I don't know if they've deleted their comments since because I went back to have another look to see if they saw my reply, but I don't think they quite understood what this was. It is a traditional sponge with a very, very, very fine coating of silicone on it. Like it's almost been dipped in a very like liquidy silicone formula that has sort of just sealed the sponge. So when you apply the product with this area, it doesn't sink into the sponge. But if you do want the exact texture of a sponge, you can use the base. And they need to keep the base open because to soak up water, it can only soak up through the base, and to squeeze it out, you have to squeeze it out through the base. So this acts like a sponge that not only smears the makeup around like a silicone sponge would or maybe your hands would, but it also has the bounce, like the feel of a normal sponge. Now, after hearing that and seeing that when I used the Bounce foundation, I used like 3 pumps on one side with a normal sponge, and I used about 1.5 on this. If you've got an expensive foundation that you want it to like last forever, or you hate buying new foundations, or you have one foundation that's your perfect one, you don't want to buy another one, these kind of tools are really good at not absorbing much product, so you get more longevity out of your foundation. But I still don't think that this has the same effect as a normal sponge. So there were some limitations, like it's a little bit firmer. It's not much firmer. I've used firmer sponges. Sort of like cheaper sponges are firmer than this. It does sort of skim over your pores a bit more, so you can see the pores a little bit more than if you used a normal sponge, and it doesn't cover the same surface area, so I feel like it takes a little bit longer to spread the product. But it is a really good sort of foundation saver product, but I still reach for my other sponges along with this. So depending on the day, depending on the foundation I'm using, I will either decide to use this or a normal sponge. So it's not replaced normal sponges for me, it's just a different option. Sort of like, do you want to use a sponge or a brush? Do I want to use this sponge or another sponge? It's sort of replace the option. If I'm using a Project Pan foundation, I'm sort of in the market to use it up, I will use just a normal sponge because it is actually quicker to apply it and it's just easier to get it on. Whereas if I was using a foundation that I'm sort of treasuring, or I'm happy to take my time with it because I'm really trying to like build up the coverage, this is one I would go for. So I don't think this will change makeup game. I won't change people's sort of sponge application method, but it is a nice alternative to have in your collection. So yeah, after using this, it hasn't made me use this over brushes or other sponges. It's just the third option in my routine, and it just depends on what I'm using for me to reach for this. So I don't reach for it every day. And I also feel like this is just as inconvenient to clean as a normal sponge. You do have to sort of get that little mitt out and clean the silicone pretty well. So it takes just as much time to clean this as a normal sponge. You just don't waste as much foundation using this. So yeah, it's just another option for me. It's not replacing any sponges anytime soon. Another update before I get on to my fails, I wanted to talk about my Game of Thrones box. This is actually in the slip, so I'm not going to take it out. I just put up my Get Ready With Me using this, and I want to say, even though I edited that video and I put it up and I saw people's reactions to it, and some people still don't like this collection. Some people like elements of it. Some people want it all because they're Game of Thrones fans. And I think where I stand on this is I still really am glad I've got the collection. I am still planning to repurchase 2 of the liners so I can have 2 liners in my daily routine. I don't feel bad using them up, and I can still have 2 in this box. So that's still my plan. So yeah, I'm still loving that I've got that collection. I'm loving Game of Thrones. The final season is so good right now. So it just brings me a lot of joy, even though there are only key things in there that I really, really love. I love the dark lipstick. I love the eyeliners. I really like the eyeshadow palette. Other things I'm like, that's all right. But I was thinking about it, and a lot of people are like, I don't like Game of Thrones. None of that interests me. I'm like, good. I'm glad that's the case, because leave it for people that love Game of Thrones. This is a Game of Thrones lover collection. It's not just an makeup lovers collection. And I think if makeup lovers that don't like Game of Thrones started buying this stuff and took it away from people that loved Game of Thrones, it would actually make me a little bit sad. So I'm glad that people that don't like Game of Thrones don't want this, because leave it for the fans. So that sort of sums up how I feel about that collection. If you're a fan, you'll enjoy it. You don't need it all. But if you're not a fan, leave it for the fans, please. All right, now on to fails. And I've got a couple of fails, sadly. Where do I start? All right, I'm going to start with the Bounce Foundation by Beauty Blender. This I did a wear test on, and a lot of people to that video said that they've got drier skin and they love this. So I'm glad there is someone out there that loves this. I love the look of it. I'm actually wearing this today, mixed in with a BB cream. I'm just trying to test ways to sort of increase the longevity of it, because I really love the look of it up until about maybe the 6-hour mark, and then it just turns to shit on me. It literally shits its pants and just looks oily and greasy and disgusting, and I'm not even that oily. And at the moment it's cold weather. It's not even like maximum oil production time. So the fact that this wore hideous on me, like in that wear test, I think at the 8-hour mark onwards, just looked like crap. I need longer for my foundation, but if I'm filming, I'm happy to use this up. So that's, yeah, for oily skin, I wouldn't go there. I also oxidized mixing with the oils. I wanted to update that because in my wear test, I didn't use a primer with this. Prior to that, I had pretty much always used a primer with it. And I had heard a couple of people say that they don't find it oxidizes on their oily skin when they wear a primer, and it might be the fact that the primer prevents your oils from mixing with the foundation too early. I did find that the more my oils came through, the more this oxidized. So it's not like one of those foundations that dries down a different color. It's just that once it mixes with oils, it has a chemical reaction, causes oxidization, and it makes it go a lot like darker and more sort of like swampy looking. It's weird. So there's a lot of things that I don't like about this foundation, and I wouldn't recommend it for people with oily skin. But if you want a foundation that's going to last you a few hours while you're, trying to look flawless for filming a video or taking photos, this is a good one, but it's going to shit its pants after a few hours. The next thing that I'm really hating, this is in my project pan and I'm determined to use it up. It's the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores Translucent Powder. I freaking hate this shit. I mainly bought this for under eyes because it's a very, very finely milled powder and they look really nice. They set concealer really well, but this one doesn't because it actually changes the color of your concealer. So if you put on a concealer that's your skin color, which is what I do, you put this over the top and it turns it peach. It makes it look dull and weird. It does the same thing to foundation. If you put it on your foundation, it can actually darken your foundation, make it look peachier. I don't like the finish of this. It's too powdery. It makes my skin almost feel itchy because it's very, very dry. And if I use this to touch up oily patches throughout the day, it actually rubs off the makeup as I touch it up. So everything about this is horrible. I've heard a few people say use it as dry shampoo. I've tried to do that. Makes my scalp itch. So I'm going to be determined to use this in some way, shape or form. I mainly use this when I'm not needing my foundation to look great, but I want this gone. I want to use it up, and if it takes me months and months and months, I will just chuck it. But so far I think I also went to shake it out the other day and the lid popped off and I did lose a bit. So good, I'm happy to waste you because you're crap. So I don't like this at all. Another product that I don't like, but I'm really upset because it has so much potential and I really want to love it. And we do a sort of review on this on the Beauty News channel. It's not up yet. We haven't edited it yet, but it's coming up in probably a week or two. It is magnetic liners and lashes. So I have tried magnetic lashes before and they're horrible. They're really hard to apply. Essentially what you do is you apply, there's two sets of lashes that you apply above your lashes and underneath your lashes, and they've got magnets that clip together, and so you don't need to use glue. But they're just a nightmare to put on. They're heavy, they're uncomfortable, it's not good. So brands have started bringing out magnetic liner. Now this stuff is actually really, really rad. This one is from Glam by Manicare, so it's a brand that we can get in Australia. You can get it in Priceline. It's got a beautiful liner, very, very black. I think it's like 1 millimeter thick tip. Beautiful, beautiful liner. But there is a problem with it. So I'm going to let this dry and I'll demonstrate it, but I'll also tell you what's wrong with it. So while I wait for that to dry, I just want to show you the lashes. So the lashes I used were the Intense Chloe. I've also got the Natural Willow. I have put them in, you can use any magnetic lashes, or if you've got the ones with the top and bottom, just use the top with this particular type of liner. I've got this Essence magnetic lash storage case. So it actually lets you magnetically clip your lashes onto the base. These were the ones I was using. So these work really well with the liner. So if you actually just put them on, they do stick. It's amazing. It works so well and it looks so good. But what I have learned is this particular liner, it's the type of liner that it almost peels off. It's not the liner that really sticks to your skin, and when you try to remove it, you need to use oils or makeup remover to really get it off. This is a kind of liner that if you get it wet, it just starts sort of peeling off. And it's the type of liner that once it's completely set, you might start seeing it peel up on your eye. And the problem with that, with these magnetic lashes, is that the magnets actually pull the liner off. And once the liner has been pulled off, the magnetic part no longer sticks to the eye. So you find that there's little bits that are popping off, and it's purely because the liner lifts. So it's a great concept, and I'm really hoping to see great things in this field, because when it works great. You'll find that the lashes will start to pop off, and when you go to see what's going on, it's because the lashes have pulled the liner off, and you either need to go back in and fill the gaps with the liner, but it's such a cool concept and it can work so well. So this is a beautiful liner otherwise, if it wasn't that sort of, that formula that starts peeling off throughout the day. It's a beautiful black liner. The application's great. Really like the concept of it. It's just there's one little flaw in it, and that's the liner just pulls off and the lashes therefore fall off. So it's a fail, but it's a really bittersweet fail because the product has so much potential, and if the liner just stayed put a lot better, God, I would almost convert to magnetic lashes to use this with it. So if you did want to try magnetic lashes and you wanted to try it with a liner, I do recommend giving it a shot, but yeah, that little bit of the formula and the peeling off just ruins it for me, but it had so much potential. All right, the last one, it's a fail, it's a skincare fail, and it's not a big deal, but I just wanted to mention it as an update in my Priceline Beauty Prescription Live haul. I mentioned that the Neutrogena cleansing oil has come to Australia. Simon bought this in the US, or one similar to it, and really liked it. And this one, I had a lot of promise with it because it's made in Korea. but I don't like it. I tried to use it. It's a very thick cleansing oil, which is not in itself a bad thing. I do find that it leaves a little bit of a greasy residue, so you need to make sure you properly cleanse this off. It's definitely not a one-step cleanser, which I don't use cleansing oils as a one-step cleanser anyway. I always use it to melt my makeup and then I cleanse it off again. But I did find that this one, yeah, was a little bit greasy and I hate the scent. It smells like, it's like artificial fruit, but it's sort of like fruit that's gone bad. I don't know. It's just not something I like. And I used it a few times. I love cleansing oil. I find if you have a good one, it's actually like a really pleasant experience. And this made me just go, ugh, I don't like it. The scent makes me feel a bit unwell. So I've turned this into one that I use on my sponges. So where I clean my brushes and sponges, I always have a cleansing oil, preferably a cheaper one. I pump it onto the dirty sponge that hasn't been wet yet. And I'll actually might get like 4 or 5 sponges, pump a whole bunch on. I'll just sort of like work them in my hands, let them sit for a bit, and then I'll come back and I'll rinse them out properly and then wash them with like a sponge soap, like the Daiso Puff and Sponge Cleanser. And it takes out, that 2-step process takes out makeup really, really easily. So that has become my sponge cleaning cleanser because I don't like this on my face. It has made me run to my Shiramura. This is the Pore Finest 2, so it's a reformulated one, and I love this. It's a very different to when the pink one originally came out. It's got a very different scent. This has more sakura oil essence something, but it's much runnier. It's such a nice experience. It doesn't feel like it's coating my skin. This is a beautiful one. These are designed for oily skin, so if you are worried about cleansing oils because you don't like the idea of putting oils on your oily skin, this one is a beautiful light one. It reminds me of when I first used the Shiramura cleansing oil because I first bought the pink one, and it is like head and shoulders above this thing. So I love this, not this. All right, that's done. If you missed any of the products I talked about, or I was speaking too fast, or whatever it might have been, or forgot to mention the name, that could happen as well. I'll list all the products in order of discussion, and I'll also link any reviews that I've done underneath that, because I have done Game of Thrones review, I have done eyeshadow palette reviews, I have done project pans where I talk about these kind of things. So anything that's relevant, like wear test with this, for example, where I compare this to a normal sponge, I'll link them all below the product that I mentioned it with. So there we go. So I'll see you guys in the next one and have a great day. Bye. Just as I wrap it up, we get the Boogs behind us. Booga, what you doing, my son? What you doing, my beautiful son? You want your spot? Okay, I'll fix it. I'll fix it. No, you don't. You fight me. Don't you fight me. Nice to meet you, sir. You can you're trying to pick a fight. You're trying to pick a fight. Nice to meet you, sir. We're very civil here. Oh, that's lovely. You're being lovely. Thank you. Booga, can I have your hand? Oh, you're a very good boy. You're a very good boy. You were trying to pick a fight with me. I know. Oh, very good boy. I give you a dental snack for that one. This one? There we go.